What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I'm your host. I'm Caitlin Kenneth Smith, and today's episode, we're going to talk all about the work you're avoiding is the work that works. Yes, I said work many, many times, and I'll say it a lot more throughout this episode, so sit back, buckle up, and get ready for some real shit. I mean, that's what we're all about here at the Powerhouse Mentality. We're not about sugarcoating anything because the reality is, sugarcoating shit, as I like to say, doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody. And I think that a lot of people do sugarcoat things or don't like to tell people the real truth because they're afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. But the way that I look at it and the perspective that I have towards it is that if I'm not telling somebody the truth, if I'm not sharing with them the reality of their life, of where they're at, of how they can get better, they are always going to remain the same and they're never going to reach their full potential. So when I used to manage gyms, this is one thing that at the beginning of my managerial experience, I was almost afraid to have those tough conversations with my employees. Like, I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I didn't want them to think I wasn't cool. But at the end of the day, tough love is love. And it's the best form of love, even though you might not see it in the moment. But I love every single person who listens to this podcast. And I know that a lot of times you might think I'm an asshole the way that I say things, but I appreciate you for continuing to listen because for some reason you keep coming back. And if you're new here, welcome. We're going to get into some real shit. The point of me saying all of that is that if you don't tell somebody the truth, if you hold back the reality because you're afraid to hurt their feelings, you're going to hurt them in the long run. A lot of people need that wake up call. And usually, if it hurts your feelings, well, if the shoe fits, right? So, in a day and age, in a society where we are looking for instant gratification, we're obsessed with shortcuts, with hacks, with shiny objects and solutions, I want to bring in the real facts of what truly produces results. And a lot of the things that I bring up on this podcast, a lot of the topics that I come from questions that I've received from clients, conversations that I've had with clients, experiences that I've had in my own life, experiences that I've spoken with people about, or stories that people tell on the podcast episode, which we're going to have some more guests coming on, which is exciting. But the last part is lessons that I learned in training. And a lot of it, because I train a lot. Right now, I'm training to become a competitive professional CrossFit athlete. So I'm training multiple times a day. And these training sessions, a lot of the times, are more mental than they are physical. So twofold in this story. This morning, I woke up. And my daily routine is I wake up, use the restroom, brush my teeth, do all that, and empty out the dishwasher, mix up my carb drink, and get into my first session. Now, this morning, as I was emptying out the dishwasher, mixing up my carb drink, and now I finally have my husband back, which is nice. He's sitting at the dining room table, just finishing up his breakfast and getting ready for his day. And I said to him as I was about to head out into the garage, I was like, there are a lot of days that I question whether or not I want to truly chase this CrossFit career. And today is one of those days. My training for today is hefty, and the morning session was hefty, but also it was consumed of a lot of just the quote unquote boring work, as people would call it. So for this morning session, I had a 40-minute echo bike piece. So it was 10 sets of 3 minutes at an RPE 6.7. So not fire-breathing lungs, but enough to kind of make the efforts tough, especially towards the end. And you get a minute rest between, so it was 40 minutes. And it was just 40 minutes of me, the echo bike, my music, because I'm not listening to music. I was listening to 1,000 Foot Crutch. They're my workout playlist. It's either 1,000 Foot Crutch or Nefex right now. So if anybody knows, that gets me through. But 40 minutes, no crowd, no hype, no extravagant thing that I was doing. It was just 40 minutes of me and an echo bike hurting. And it wasn't for PR. It wasn't for social media. It was just the boring work. And it's exactly what most people skip, which is why most people stay stuck. There was more to that session. So afterwards, I had 3 sets of accessories of GHD sit-ups and kettlebell side bends, which burned my core. And then we had some squat cleans at 80%. So nothing flashy or exciting. I'll get into more of the flashy, exciting metabolic conditioning pieces later. But for all you people who want to get better at CrossFit, here is one lesson. And if you don't do CrossFit, this can still apply to you because you can use any sort of lesson from training and apply it to your life. But in order for you to get better at CrossFit, you need to stop doing CrossFit. You need to stop doing metabolic conditioning pieces, and you need to start doing conditioning and strength pieces. Just strength and conditioning. Just develop a strong foundation. And that's where the magic lies. And that goes for anybody who wants to get better at anything in life, right? If you want to get better at your career, you want to become a better parent, you want to become better at health, right? You want to lose weight, you want to get stronger. You have to focus on the foundations, right? All that flashy shit, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it gets views and likes on social media, but that is not the stuff that actually works. Like I said, there's an obsession with shortcuts, hacks, and shiny objects. And you're not stuck because you haven't found the right magic. You're stuck because you keep skipping the work that doesn't feel exciting. Social media glamorizes the extremes, right? If you go onto somebody's page who's like a fitness influencer, you'll see them doing the hardest workouts that they've probably done in weeks. But you won't see the boring back squats or the boring lunges or the accessory work that people do. And I do this, right? Like if you go onto my social media, the majority of the times, like if you go on my story and I share like highlights from my training for the day, I'm not sharing like, I didn't share like the GHD sit-ups and the kettlebell side bends that I did, right? I didn't share I'm not going to share like the dumbbell lunges that I'm going to do later after I do my metabolic conditioning piece. I'll share the metabolic conditioning piece because it's more exciting, right? And that's just how social media is. But I'm never going to lie to you and say that's what developed results. The reason why I can do those metabolic conditioning pieces at the rate that I do them at is because I take care of my body through doing the boring work, the boring accessory work that I would call successory work because it makes you more successful, but the accessory work that most people skip, right? The strength work that most people skip, the sitting on the echo bike for 40 minutes that most people skip, the mobility work that most people skip. Don't lie. You know you keep saying you need to stretch more, but you don't do it because it's boring, because it doesn't matter, right? But it does. I can tell you that mobility work and stretching, those are 2 different things, by the way. Those things actually matter. No matter what your goal is, they matter. Because I thought they didn't matter until all of a sudden I hurt myself and then they really mattered. Same thing with regulating my nervous system. Doing breath work or journaling. Boring. I don't need to do that because I need to just do more work. I don't need to take a break. Yeah, well, I promise you that those things matter. And then they don't matter until all of a sudden your body screams at you and tells you no more. And now you're forced to take that break. The boring work, right? The work that produces results, the work that most people skip, the work that doesn't look sexy but builds the life that you actually want. Everybody is looking for the next hack, the secret formula, the magic that'll finally make everything fall into place. But the magic, it's not your supplements. It's not your next program. It's not in the podcast you keep searching for, hoping somebody will say something that finally lights a fire under you. The magic is in the work you continue to avoid. It's in the reps when nobody's watching. It's in the food prep when Uber Eats would be so much easier. It's in the early alarm, the mobility session you didn't want to do, the honest self-check or reflection when it'd be easier to just kind of make an excuse. And like I said, this morning wasn't about burning calories or hitting some crazy PR. It's about proving to myself that I can show up for the boring shit, especially when I didn't want to do it, the stuff that nobody celebrates but makes all of the difference. Because if I can do it when nobody's watching, I'm sure as hell going to show up when the pressure's on, when somebody is watching. But that's just integrity to self. It's keeping the commitment you make to yourself regardless of how you feel. That is the number one thing that you can do that'll change your life. I promise you, and I will stick to that. The number one thing that you can do that will change your life is simply keep the commitments that you make to yourself, regardless of how you feel. So I want to challenge you guys, and I want to ask yourself, what work are you avoiding right now? Is it an uncomfortable conversation? Is it tracking your food? Is it being honest about your sleep, about your alcohol consumption, about your scrolling? Or maybe it's just the small, consistent actions that don't give you that dopamine hit, but are exactly what you need. I'm telling you now, as somebody who does a podcast that is meant to motivate, but I hate the word motivate. So I don't want you to think that like, oh, I need something to motivate me, right? I want you to think that you don't need to be inspired. Inspiration can help, absolutely. But you're not always going to have the opportunity to be inspired by something. If you can't get off your ass without a podcast that's screaming in your ear to do it, that's a problem. You need more discipline in the boring moments. And the only way to build discipline is through doing the boring things. The Powerhouse Mentality, right? That is built in the boring work. Champions are made in silence. We've seen that over and over and over again in all of the biggest athletes in the world. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, they worked in the silence when nobody was watching. And frankly, your results don't care if it's exciting. Hard work is boring, hard work is disgusting, and effort is always a choice, and effort is what's going to deliver results. Results don't care that it's exciting, but they care that you show up and do the work consistently. So I want you to recognize that this concept right here is what separates the average from the uncommon, the average from the great. This is why the Powerhouse Mentality isn't just a brand, it's a standard. So I want you to challenge yourself to choose one piece of boring work to commit to this week. That thing that you've been avoiding, do it. Do it. Not the exciting thing, not the fun thing, the necessary thing. If you're in the Powerhouse Mentality Facebook community, I want you to tell the group, post it, what is the one piece of boring work that you're committing to this week? That one thing that you've been avoiding, what are you committing to? Post it in the Powerhouse community, tag me, message me. I want to hold you accountable. Again, the Powerhouse Mentality isn't just a brand, it's a community, it's a movement, it's a standard. Look, I want to end it here. This is a nice little short, straight to the point podcast to start out your week. Your results, your life, the dreams that you want to accomplish, the person that you want to become, that powerhouse mentality isn't made when it's easy. It's revealed when nobody's watching. So go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.